Welcome back in here, everyone. We are live on the Prospero.ai stock market live stream. We have a bunch of great stories to discuss today in this market that just keeps on changing its mind. All of the indices are up today with the QQQ leading the charge, up 1 1/3% on the day. The big switch up happened when we got the news that Trump was going to suspend the tariff on the automakers for 1 month. So we'll get into what that means for the market, of course, once I am joined in here by George. Before that, and before I get into the rest of the topics that we'll discuss today, be sure to like up the stream on YouTube and X, whatever you're watching on. Let's try to make this our most liked stream ever. Can we do it? We'll see. I'll check back in later at the end to find out. So like I said, the tariffs are paused on the automakers. What does this mean for the market? What kind of environment are we in right now? As we get data, the market will typically react either positively or negatively to hot or cool data. What will make us go up from here? What will make us go down for here? Um, are we in a Goldilocks period? I don't think so, but I'll pose all those questions to George. Then we'll discuss coming out of this bearish turn, if we are, by the way, I guess that's yet to be known. Of the Magnificent Seven stocks, what is the one you feel most confident about going forward? And what is the one you feel least confident about? Can the overall markets even go higher if these stocks don't cooperate and also lead us in the upward direction? I saw Nvidia specifically, I think is below all of its moving averages, 10, 50, and 200 day. So honing in on that stock specifically. How is that one looking? I know the AI industry has driven us so high over the past 2 years, and it's been the backbone of the entire market's rise. So how is it looking now going forward from here? CrowdStrike reported earnings. They were down 10% earlier today. Let's see. I haven't checked back in as the market's risen upwards. So let's see where they're at now. Were they able to turn it around with the market? They're still down over 6%, but they are off their morning lows. So what happened? They did have some weak guidance, but why did the stock react so negatively? And when these high growth companies give lower than expected future guidance, why does that hit them so hard? Then we have Tesla, which has been struggling. Some of their international sales have come in, and for the month of February, and they are looking pretty dire, I must say. The one that dropped the most, Germany, down 76% for the month of February, but there's a few other ones that I'll mention when we get into that topic live. Do sales even matter for the stock at this point? Because although these numbers are down so much, the stock is up today, and these numbers are just fresh, so it doesn't seem to be affecting it. Is the stock more focused on the full self-driving revenue earnings that are expected and launch expected to happen some point this year? I think the last we heard it was for June, so we'll find out if that's still the case. Then we have Meta, which their chief product officer came out and said that the AI assistant that Meta has made is now the most used in the world, with hundreds of millions of monthly active users. How reliable is this data? We'll get into all of that. I'm sure Meta has just put this AI assistant in a lot of their social media apps. So are they counting users of their apps as users of the AI assistant if they, for some reason, use it at any point during their app experience? So we'll get into all of that. And then last but not least, we have a crypto summit sponsored by the White House scheduled to take place March 7th. What does this mean for all of these crypto related stocks that we've been talking about recently? Are we going to learn anything new at this summit, or are they just going to repeat information that's already been said? We'll get into all of those details. If you guys follow George, you probably saw him add coin today earlier, so he's back in on coin. But we'll get into all of that. And then, as always, we will do the model portfolio update at the end of the stream. I'm about to pull it up on my phone to see how we're doing on that like total. My phone says we're still at 4, so maybe we get a few more likes before George gets on in here. What I want to do now is check out the net options sentiment in the Prospero app. When I was looking before, it looked like the QQQ and SPY were going in very different directions. So let's see if that's still the case. Okay, pulling up the SPY. So unfortunately, I can't type. Okay, here we go. So right now the SPY is still at 0 in the Prospero app, so still flatlined at the low. There was a brief, let's see what date this was. On February 26th, there was a brief pop to 1 in the net option sentiment. But besides that, since the 21st of February, it's basically been pinned at 0. So nothing has changed there. And QQQ, the QQQ net option sentiment is now at the highest it's been since, actually it's at the highest it's been for the entire time series graph, which goes back to February 20th. It's currently at 45. So a big change seemingly in the forecast of tech stocks and how eager investors are to add those to their portfolios. Big rise going all the way from 5, which was yesterday, the low of yesterday, all the way up to a high, which is at right now 45. So big switch up. And we've seen that in the markets today as the markets have risen. So maybe we can be constructive from here. I guess it's possible the markets have hit a bottom, even if it is interim. And maybe we could see a nice bounce over the end of this trading week. But as always, let me tell you guys, if we have any new viewers in here, when George gets in here, we're going to talk about all the topics I previously mentioned. But if you have any stocks you specifically want to have brought up on the stream today, or any stories, any questions, concerns, just leave those in the comments and we'll be sure to get to them. What I'll do now is I'll just go through a bunch of different stock lists and see if there's anything interesting going on in the markets that live that maybe we should bring up on the stream today. Let's see. So we have all of the big tech stocks rising. Let's see which one is up the most. Microsoft is up 3%, 3.29%. It's up even more than Tesla. Let's check out Nvidia. I think Microsoft is the most, the Mag 7 stock that's rising the most today. Maybe something to take note of going forward from here. Maybe a sign of strength. Baba is running. Yahoo's from Mario Mex. Hello, George. Welcome into the stream.
Thank you.
You have some wording on your camera right now. I don't know if it's easily removable or not. I'm not sure why it's there.
Let's see.
So yeah, Mario, we can cover the Chinese stocks. I did see that all of those were running. Let's check it out, see if any besides Baba are doing well today. Pinduoduo up 6%, Baba up 8.5%, Baidu up 5%, JD up 6 1/3. So they are all doing very, very well today. It went away, George.
Yeah, I fiddled with it.
Okay. But it looks like all of the Chinese stocks are rising, and they've been some of the more volatile stocks, but I think better performers of the year so far. Probably better than most, actually definitely better than most of the American big tech stocks. Baba is up 66% year to date, so pretty major move.
Does this look focused? I think it looks pretty good, right?
It was focused, but I think it refocused on I see a square now near your It's focused on like the window behind you or something.
Yeah, it thinks this is a.
Yeah, put your face over. Oh, it did. That did work a little bit. Viewfinder inactive. Press any button to reactivate. It just said.
Where?
It just popped up on the screen.
All right. Geez, we finally like it. It seems like since I've moved, there's been a new problem every.
For all of our viewers, if you could see George's nice view right there, we have some rainy weather coming our way. It's about to pour in the northeast, I believe. So if anybody's located by us, stay safe. I think we're getting some actually pretty serious weather.
All right, let's. Yeah, okay. There we go.
Yes, now it's perfect. I see
Great.
a comment from Ted Chairman. Coin's still running. Let's check on that as we.
Yeah, we were going to give you a shout out later. Can that thing on the screen that's showing the focus, that's not going to show up on our videos, right?
I am not sure. Let me check on YouTube quickly and see if it's there. Yeah, I think it is because it's popping up on the
What is up with this? It's like
it's focusing on your right eye only.
yeah, it's like the camera, it's doing weird things today.
You know what they say, third time's the charm.
Is it there? Leave me alone. It's like person of interest. Oh my God. Sorry. Sorry, stream.
Maybe I'll have to be the main person of focus on our shorts. Just kidding.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna try for just like a. I mean, I guess I'll just be the weird like robot if it comes to that.
Yeah, I could just edit an eye patch over the box. I'm sure that'll look more normal, more natural.
Ugh. Viewfinder inactive. Okay.
Everybody that's watching.
Why did it appear?
But hey, the good news is the picture is crystal clear. There's just a box.
How do we get rid of you? Settings. God, it feels like we've had so many technical issues lately, everybody. Sorry. What a weird thing.
It is an odd feature because who would want the box on
Yeah.
like, why would anybody want that?
Who would want this? I mean, it kind of was helpful when we were trying to figure out. Maybe.
Do we have any tech wizards in the chat? Maybe you could help George out because we actually see the camera modes right now. Maybe somebody can steer us in the right direction.
Are you still here? Oh.
You might have done it. I didn't see any boxes.
Oh,
it's back.
Oh my God. This is crazy. All right. We're getting.
Don't worry, everyone. Stick around. The value that we're about to provide will be worth it.
Um, okay. No. Oh, God. I'm like, I don't want to just be clicking random buttons. Do we think it's AF beam firing?
Beam firing. What about this one? AF area with the box. That looks like the same thing that I see on the screen.
What? No beam firing. No.
I think
AF.
yeah, I think I might have seen it because the logo on one of them was the same box. I think if you go back to that AF tab.
How do you get up to the AF tab? Oh.
I think that one.
Oh.
AF area. Yeah, that one.
We had it on this, right?
Yeah. Maybe, but that says whole. That seems like it should be good. Maybe just turn off the eye
Track
detection.
it.
Was that on?
Let's see. And then I don't know if we want to go back to that beam thing now.
Yeah, maybe the beam was good.
Yeah, maybe we wanted the beam. Where was the beam?
I think this was actually on this same thing. Just that, yeah, there we go.
All right, let's see. Jesus Christ. All right. I feel like it had to be in there.
Ted Chairman said turn off eye detection. Maybe subject to detect. Maybe we have to like turn that off too. If there's a auto, maybe, I don't know, or none.
Well, then it won't focus. All right, we're going to try the eye tracking.
I think we're on the right path here though. Definitely.
We're we're learning about cameras today, not stock. I mean, we got a bigger one. Let's see, maybe it'll go away in a second.
I think the subject detection, if we try auto, and then if that doesn't work, maybe just turn it off and see if it'll focus without it. But I think once we try those two, I think we're there.
All right, eye detection. All right, I think we want this whole area.
I think the eye has to be off too. Otherwise, it's going to focus on your eye.
Well, I think that's like the red eye thing. I don't know about that. All right, AF area. I feel like all right, what do you think it is?
I think if you go back and you put subject maybe to auto, and then if not even auto, maybe none. But I think auto first we could try. He said, Ted Chairman said the market is tanking since this started. Uh-oh. Is it actually? Let's see. You got me, Ted. You got me to look.
Is it?
No, not really.
Okay. What if we just... Let's try this.
Bob Safford has a question for you, George.
Yeah, we might as well while we're doing this.
He's trolling, though. It's not a real question.
Oh, my God. Yeah. All right, now we're just trying things. Oh, great. Now we've got multiple ones.
Wow, we're going to have to really speed run these topics once we get to them.
All right, we're going back to people. We're resetting some of this. AI focus. I feel like it's got to be this. But I think what we just discovered is that this menu and the whatever's doing that is different than...
I would just try turning off the subject to detect and see if it'll focus without it. I think that
we
might
did. We tried that.
We put it on auto. I think you can turn it off. Hit none. Let's see if that works. There we go. We're in business.
Okay. All right. We're doing this now. Thank you.
All right. We're gonna have to really be conservative and speed run these. I guess we should just jump right in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the market turned today when Trump and Trudeau spoke, and it came out that Trump is open to, and I think he is, suspending the tariffs on the auto companies for at least 1 month. And obviously, we're seeing the signals in Prospero, the QQQ rising up to 45, but the SPY is still at 0. Are you feeling any type of way where we've hit an interim bottom possibly and we can get more constructive? Or if not, how? Why so?
I mean, I just have to send one more thing out. Sorry. I mean, this is where we're at with it, right? I think... Oh, we got anything. That's a good one, Bob. So I think it's really, really hard to read, but with SPY and option sentiment at 0, like, I think you have to be cautious, right? I just don't think there's any other way to read that than, like, yeah, there might be some confident bets, swing trades, that kind of thing today, but it could still turn on a dime, right? So that's why we're staying pretty even long short. Like on a typical day where we saw QQQ net option sentiment go from, I think it was in the teens when it started up to 47, we'd be twisting our portfolio probably at least 2-1 bull to bear. But, this is a unique time.
And, depending on the market environment, like when we get data each day of like jobs numbers and all of that, if it's hot and the market is in a certain environment, it'll react one way. If it's lower than expected and the market is in a different environment, it'll react one way. How do you think the market wants to see data come in currently? Do you think it wants a strong economy and numbers that exceed expectations, or cooler data?
I don't really think the market is moving on anything but Trump at this point, to be honest. I think that is kind of the world that we're in now. Like, I think it's so hard, looking at it today, right? We saw there'd be first there were going to be tariffs and they would start on this date. And then there was going to be, some relief, but it's only, tactical relief to automakers. It's just like, the market's going to be so dependent on someone speaking, and that person is very, very hard to predict, right? That's how the market's going to move, and it's going to be very hard. So I think that's why we're seeing so much caution. That's why we're seeing, like, even on a day that people are making bets on tech, because I think some people think that they're deals, they're also heavily hedging, and that just makes sense.
Now, I guess, since we're living through it right now, it's tough to say, like, is this going to be an interim bottom or not? But if it is, what Mag 7 stocks, which one do you feel best about coming out of this? And which one do you still feel the worst about coming out of this going forward?
I mean, I was actually surprised to see what a value Meta was this weekend when I was doing like the value, like the EPS versus sector EPS. So I think right there, like knowing what a value Meta is, knowing that Meta has like really buddied up to Trump and started to do things well there in a way that there could be things thrown at them. I think we're going to talk about both these stories. Meta has an interesting story, like a bull story, and Tesla has more of a bear. And like going into the year, we would have said, with Musk's position of power, then you'd expect this to be a really good year for Tesla. But I don't really think that we're seeing that. And I think the reason that we're not really seeing that is because, like we speculated, I'm just not sure how much of a priority Tesla is for Musk anymore.
And these stocks, we're still in a situation, you would say, I guess, where the market is going to struggle to make new all-time highs if at least most of these companies don't go higher as well. Would you say that's true? Or are we going to continue to see a broadening out where it is possible the market can go higher without them, or are they just too big for that to happen?
I mean, it's really, really hard to say, right? I think that a lot of what we're dealing with right now is this news. Like, and I can't harp on it enough, right? I don't think, normally we could talk about the market of like levels and value and how much momentum is being but the fact of the matter is, like, look at a stock like ASTS, right? And we've been a little choppy with it, right? It's had so much growth, right? And when growth is on the table, when people are excited about the potential of the market, right? Like a day like today, the last 2 days when people thought there's value, it's going to rip, right? And we've seen it. And like we were kind of playing, we were in, we were out, and then we got in, like, just because it's so hard to read. And ASTS is a stock that if people are feeling bad about the market, it's going to go down a lot because it's valued a lot on the future, right? And if they're feeling good, it is a stock that can really run. And that's the problem. Like I would love to just buy, like hold ASTS, because I think in a year or two, with the contracts it has, the relationships, they added Vodafone recently. They seem to have great relationships with governments. Even some of the stuff happening with Starlink and Europe, I think that's one of the things that's, benefiting them. So yeah, I just think that we're in a very, very tough time to understand what value is or where there's value. When, depending on what someone says day to day, that's hard to predict. A stock could be a good value that's due to grow and get a lot of momentum behind it, or it could be, something that swings the complete opposite direction. And, that's what we have been, and a lot of people have been having some trouble with lately. We went as low as like 30% above the S&P yesterday. And we're back up to 60, ASTS being one of the big reasons, but that's hard. I think some people have seen us go into stocks, get out, maybe go in soon after, right? And that's part of it, where we're just like, okay, if it looks like the market is due for a recovery, these stocks are going to run the most. But if we're going to keep in this downswing where people are, panicked and not wanting to pay, for growth multiples in the future, those are the stocks that can swing the hardest in the other direction. So yeah, I don't think it's the end of us, kind of going in and out of our, some of our favorites. And I think just touching on AppLovin quickly while we're talking about that is really important, right? Because we wrote about AppLovin this weekend, right? And we said there might be a good buying opportunity, but again, this market is so hard to read. It's a stock that could get attacked by shorts to get at a better value later. And, sure enough, there was it was a stock that really ran when a lot of stocks were struggling 2 days ago, because someone reaffirmed a buy rating at 600, and then a few days later it's struggling a lot because there was another, someone moved it to a sell, and they're talking about selling their gaming unit, and who knows if part of that is a desire to simplify their business and get some cash in because they think tough times are ahead. So yeah, like we're dealing with a really hard to read market.
And you mentioned the stories about Tesla and Meta. So let's jump into the Meta one first. You actually sent this to me, but their chief product officer, Chris Cox, came out and said that Meta is now the most used AI assistant in the world, or Meta's products, and that they have over 700 million active monthly users. So we've been covering Meta as a dark horse of AI, but is that coming true now? And are they the leader?
Well, first we got to make a joke, and that's, Meta's eliminated fact checking. So how do we know that's a real number that they're giving? It seems like some people would rather just say the truth they want as opposed to any kind of objective truth. But I mean, all jokes aside, that's probably, I don't think they're, there might be some issues outside, but I think the public markets and all the securities regulations, for the time being, are things that I mostly trust. But yeah, I think we're in. I think that's a very interesting number, because we've talked for a while about how Meta's made really interesting investments in AI, going back to when they launched PyTorch. Google used to have this TensorFlow algorithm, that was the main open source algorithm, and PyTorch started to eat into their market, and then you have Llama, and they're doing really smart things. But the reason why I believe this, we kind of did the joke, but the reason why I would believe this is true is that a lot of people go with what's familiar to them, right? And what's familiar, maybe ChatGPT, even less true of DeepSeek. The more you wander away from what's familiar, I could buy that the easiest way for a lot of people to interact with an LLM is just one that's sitting there trying to interact with them on Meta. And I think that's a pretty, clever way to do it. I mean, I think, especially in America, like OpenAI, ChatGPT has become like a huge part of our culture. But I don't think that's necessarily as true as you go more globally. I don't know that, but I do know how, what a moment it's had. But I'm just saying, maybe that could be another thing internationally, something easy. If not as many people are talking about ChatGPT and you have like this easy access to an LLM. If we have any international watchers, I'd love to hear what ChatGPT is like in your country, and if you think it's as a fever pitch as it is in the US. But yeah, I think that it's just in line with what we're saying. And one of the reasons why I said Meta first, I think they're a good value. They're doing a lot of clever things, and the ad business is always, sometimes it takes a hit in tough economies. But for the time being, people are going to need to run ads, and Meta has a pretty unique way of targeting and a huge user base. And if you kind of contrast like Meta and Google, right? Google has these like existential threats like Perplexity and these other LLMs, and just the fact that like, they've been at Gemini for a while, and it's just not, it's the trailer. Like even Claude is, really past it, in addition to ChatGPT, now DeepSeek. Like Google, who for a long time, we talked about having the most impressive AI tech, can't seem to figure out how to make a product that people want with it. So you have those threats on Google. Contrast that with Meta, right? They have their core business that's still strong, and then they're moving in, to integrating LLMs to Meta they're moving in, an important part to know about DeepSeek. DeepSeek actually uses Llama. So you see kind of their expansion, PyTorch as well. They are actually, even though AI wasn't really their business, they're making waves and they're making progress forward while Google is taking steps back.
So a lot of people wonder like what the killer AI app is going to be, but it sounds like it already existed, and it was the social media networks that already have these massive amounts of people. Maybe that's the easiest way to get people to adopt the AI products. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, you can never really underestimate how lazy and not tech savvy some people are, right? I think, a lot of us, certainly if you're like investing, probably watching this live stream, you're probably pretty tech savvy. But there's a lot of people that don't fall into that category. And the way they get exposed to tech is just like whatever is easiest for them to access.
Mm-hmm. So I want to spin to this Tesla story because I saw these numbers and I was a little bit shocked when I saw these actually. So some February sales came out for Tesla year over year. These are all international, excuse me, numbers. So their sales in Germany for the month of February fell 76%. In China, their sales fell 49%. And in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and France, their sales fell all 20% or more. So obviously Tesla stock has been hit hard, I guess, but what do you think this stock still trades off these numbers, or do you think the investors in Tesla are more focused on the self-driving story? How do you weigh out these things?
Well, I think you have the like core Tesla fans, right? And I think those people are not going to be moved. That they're betting, it's like what we were kind of talking about. They listen to Elon Musk saying Tesla is going to be 10x the rest of the Mag 7, and they're in, and they don't care about the short term. And I don't even think it's about full self-driving. I think it's just about that. I'd say there's probably a huge overlap in the people that believe how big self-driving is, and then also believe in just like the full-on long-term story for Tesla. So I think when you look at it, and the thing that like keeps on, people have probably heard me say it a few times. The thing that kind of keeps on happening when I like look at this is it's just like nobody's going to deny that Elon Musk is a smart guy, right? You have to think that some of these sales decline, he had to see it coming, right? He had to see that some of these opinions and some of the things that he's engaging in, weren't going to be popular, right? So if you take those two things to be truths, right, that this can't come as a big surprise to Elon, and that like obviously, the fact like the fact that people were going to be upset by some of the things he was doing, would very well like hurt sales of a retail company. That's the thing that just makes me think that like Tesla is just not as much of a priority for him, because I think he's smart enough to know both of those things. So, and I don't think this is short term either, right? I think once you're buying the Tesla, right, and you decide I don't want to buy like basically, and when you see a 79% sales decline someplace, right, it's not just like, oh, I wanted a different car, right? This is a concerted cultural thing around not wanting to support Musk. So if that's the case, right, what would possibly make them come back, right? That's what you have to say. Like maybe him like completely reversing course, apologizing for what he's been doing, but I just don't really see that happening. So I don't really see that changing. And sure, full self-driving will make up for it, on the revenue side, like whatever's been lost by these sales, like full self-driving is a huge revenue boost. But if we're kind of like evaluating that statement of, is Tesla going to be worth 10x the other Mag 7 stocks, right? I feel like eliminating a large swath of Europe is probably not a good way to get there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. And if like there's a report that comes out about USA sales dropping to some extent, how the stock will react to those numbers. But spinning to CrowdStrike stock, which just reported earnings, they were down at over 10% this morning. But when we looked right as the stream was starting, they were down like 6%. So as the market went up a little bit, they were able to go up, but still down. I feel like you talk positively about this cybersecurity sector a lot, but maybe you don't play it as frequently as the others. I wanted to get your temperature on it now. We haven't covered it in a little bit. How are you feeling about the cyber stocks and after CrowdStrike dropped today?
I feel kind of similar about cybersecurity stocks as I feel about biotechnology stocks, which is that it's really, really hard to evaluate tech that's so intricate, which kind of the players involved, their knowledge is so specialized, right? I was at an event last night where I met someone who did cybersecurity on the chip level. So their cybersecurity was like looking at binary code on the chip level instead of, on the operating system level. There's lots of different methodologies. But what I think in reference to that is just like, I don't know how many people care about like the chip level versus the operating system level or another method. And to be frank, I don't even know if CrowdStrike has a chip level product. Like, could I dive that deep down and like understand it? Like, probably. But even if I did, understand like, okay, CrowdStrike has a chip level option and Zscaler doesn't have a chip level option. Like, then I would have to know the industry well enough to know how many people cared about that, right? And I could ask someone, but I don't really like to get that. Like, I like to source the information myself. Like, even if I ask someone, you never know the bias, right? If I'm asking like someone who does chip level cybersecurity, like what they think is going to be the dominant cybersecurity protocol, they'd probably say chip level. If I was asking someone that was playing the operating system level, they probably would. I could ask a CTO like what them and their, what generally their peers cared about. But again, depending on the business, they might have different choices. And even then, if they spoke for like a wide swath of it, I wouldn't know if that was just kind of their own opinion, their own bias, still baked into their systems. So yeah, I feel similarly about biotechnology, where it's just like, when you're looking at things like clinical trials, like you really, really have to dive deep and get so much knowledge. And that's the thing for both of those areas, like time is finite. And I've talked about this before. What I really do is I study technology, right? Because technology applies to a lot of stuff, like general technology. I guess cybersecurity could be considered technology, but that's more of a niche technology. And AI obviously was something that I worked on a lot because I thought it was going to be a big part of every business. And it is. So that was a good use of time. But time is finite. If you work in cybersecurity, like you should lean into that, research it, invest in those stocks. Like that is a great idea. But it's kind of something where you build on knowledge that you already have. And, I don't have that knowledge. I didn't even know there was chip level cybersecurity before I talked to this guy last night. So, it always makes sense. I think it's always good to have an overall knowledge of the market, but to the extent that you can build, kind of specific knowledge bases, it really helps.
And hearing someone like you talk about like understanding your scope of knowledge, I think is helpful to me and probably the people watching to really understand what you know and what you don't, and invest in the things that you have a knowledge base on. I want to get to
Yeah,
one more story.
I
Yeah.
would say, I just want to say one more thing. I would
Uh-huh.
just I think a big mistake, and there's some overconfident people, fancy themselves very smart, that will want to know everything about everything, right? But some of the best investors, traders, everything I know, they really shrink the world. And like, I think thinking about that, especially until you have a lot more knowledge, the more you can shrink what you're trying to grasp, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm. So, last topic of today, there is a White House crypto summit scheduled for March 7th. And I saw you got back into coin earlier today. I was wondering, are you expecting something new to come out of this meeting? And do you think it'll be impactful for the crypto markets? And was that on your mind when you made that move earlier?
I thought it was going to be a long time before I got back into coin. Like, it looked like there was going to be a deeper slump. I mean, especially after that, Trump made that announcement, and shortly, the market turned a little bit, and like those gains were lost. So like, yeah, like after I saw that, I was like, well, and then option sentiment, back down in the 50s. I thought there might be a long time, but that's the thing, and that's why we have the signals, right? Because, and I thank Ted, chairman, for pointing it out to me, because I wasn't even looking at Coinbase. I was like writing it off a little bit, but it probably would have appeared in our picks shortly after that. I imagine it's there now. I just guess, but let's take a look to verify. Oh, I've never seen that before. Jacobs Engineering Group. No, I don't see coin yet. But yeah, I mean, that's why we built the signals, right? Because like, who knows? I would have written that out for a lot longer and been like, hey, it looks like we might be in a deeper cut, or at least the volatility makes it too risky. But kind of shooting up to I don't know where it was at open. I think it might have been, oh, it's back down to 85. Watch out, everyone. Yeah, at open it was 45. And when we got in, it was back up to 97. It's back down to 85. So maybe you want to rethink that, but 85 is pretty high. But yeah, it's just like, it makes it easier if you don't have to wonder like, oh, like how long is this rally going to sustain, which I don't really know the answer to, but I do know I'll take a ride, and probably if it dips below 80, I'll probably get out again, take my little profits and run.
Do you think that rise in the signals could be due to this March 7th event? That's kind of the only thing I think is on the horizon for this area of the market.
Definitely. And I definitely think that, it's kind of like when he spoke at the Bitcoin conference, where we're just like, I don't know exactly what he's going to say, but I have a hard time thinking that he's not going to try to like pump things up. Mm-hmm. There was actually a really interesting story about someone that made a $4 million, like 50x levered bet before the announcement of the reserve announcement this week, that turned into $200 million. That was a pretty interesting thing that happened, and it just shows that like some people, when you have when you have someone, when you have kind of these like corruption that's like, I would say on both sides, is getting more and more, it kind of doesn't surprise you when you see people, and we see it on both sides of the aisle, just like clearly having knowledge of these events and betting on them before they happen. And, it kind of sucks to see that. And I would say what sucks even more is that everyone's so desensitized to it, that nobody even seems to say anything about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Ted said, seems like an obvious sell the news event, but since it's so obvious, I'm hopeful maybe it'll rip. So a counter trend he's open for there. But we are pushing the time.
We got to make the switch.
Yeah. We'll do the switch. Everybody stick here with me. We'll see George on the other side. We will do the model portfolio update. Thank you for everyone who stuck around with us today through the technical difficulties there in the beginning. I did also see your comment, Ted. 10x is the optimist factor, though. We were just pushing on time, so I couldn't really follow up on that story, but thank you for leaving your comments. Let's take a look now back at the net option sentiments level for the SPY and QQQ. See if there's any difference from when we started the stream till now. Maybe the SPY will finally not be at the zero line although it's been there for quite some time, so don't get your hopes up. All right, I have the SPY. Wow, the SPY is at 2, everyone. This is the first time the SPY has been not at 0 since February 26th. So maybe some progress. Obviously, 2 is still very low, but at least it's not at 0. And the QQQ is at 42.
The
George,
new
the
the new
SPY is
Prospero lab.
yeah. The SPY is no longer at 0.
Oh, is it at 1?
It's at 2.
Wow.
Progress.
Yeah, there we go. What's QQQ at?
QQQ is at 42 currently.
Wow, let's go. All right, let's do this share. We got to do it fast, but I actually I prepped everything today.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of stuff ready. Okay, so I wonder how the model portfolio is doing. We were pretty short. Oh, wow. I think we flipped a little bit actually. Okay.
We have moved from 0, everyone. The deep bear correction is canceled for now. We will twist a little more towards long tech, but not be overly aggressive. Due to significant volatility. Jonathan asks, would you ever change your bull levels for SPY? I think in the past you had it lower and higher.
Yeah, I have, but like I used to just like be more particular about that, but the more we've kind of like just been there and like generally those are good levels, I just don't feel a need to change it.
Materials has really rebounded, so if we see something in the bull list there, we will target. Energy has flipped, but we don't love to play the swings there. And we will look for bull opportunities in communications and industrials, in addition to tech.
I'm looking up the technicals on Roblox. Oh, I'm leaving it. Any doubles? Yeah, maybe we'll get rid of GME. Is GME a win right now? I think. Maybe we'll do one dyno. What's going on with BBY? I think we added it. Oh no, we added BBY. Oh, it's BBY. It's a throwback. I think we added it yesterday. Any other small caps? All right, what are we doing here? Nothing in tech. KVR. UNT. Okay. We're going to add Carvana. No, too high. Too high. What's going on with ANF?
GME is a win.
ANF is way down. I think we're happy with this. And then we want a tech long too. What is ZI? Oh, ASTS. Oh, we'll do you. You and slab. That looks good. Good. All right, that is done. All right, I think we're out of here. I got a meeting to get to.
Okay, see everybody soon. Thank you, George. We'll be back Monday, 11 a.m., everyone. Bye now.